everyone was in a press room and everyone was a little bit astonished. Terence Crawford went to Bob Arum. I'm going to move on. Best of luck with everything. I'm done here.
Happy Thanksgiving, Trap Media USA. If you touring in, much love, much respect, much appreciation. Happy holidays. I hope the family good. I hope you good. Take care of your mental health. Make sure you ain't fighting nobody today. Just enjoy, relax, and try to eat as healthy as possible. But what we have going on right here, some breaking news. Shout out to Corey Lee Boxing. Put me on to this watching his channel a few minutes ago. Eddie Hearn did an interview, and in that interview, it was all speculations that Bud has signed with MTK and that MTK works with Matchroom, so most likely he was going to sign with Eddie Hearn. I know the boxing voice was speculating that, he'd possibly fight Mikey, then maybe move up and fight Triple G and, just take that route. Well, Eddie Hearn has expressed and shut everything down and said he has no interest in Terence Crawford at the moment. And I think Andrade situation and Devin Haney situation plays a big part in that. I think he just wants to handle his business with getting Andrade a fight and getting Devin the big fights. And I think at this moment, he realizes handling the top American fighters, like I said, is more Al Heyman's niche. So just let Al Heyman work. He expressed that Errol Spence Jr., who Terence Crawford wants, is on the PBC. So why wouldn't Terence Crawford sign with the PBC? And he also acknowledged that they don't necessarily work together. So it's just another headache for Eddie. So I say in this regard, this is why I do respect Eddie. He could hold up boxing by signing Terence Crawford, but he's not going to do that. So shout out Tony Reviews, man. I'm getting ready to drop this interview that Eddie Hearn just did. Said he don't want to sign Terence Crawford.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
I thought it was quite brutal, but then it wasn't so long ago. There wasn't Arum saying to Crawford that he's expensive and he could have bought a house in Beverly Hills instead or something like that. So it is what it is. It's business. Top Rank have paid Terence Crawford a lot of money. I think they've lost a lot of money. I would think they would have lost substantial money last weekend. I think they would have lost a huge amount of money on the Amir Khan fight. So they've backed Terence Crawford. But that's...
So right now, Eddie's talking about all the money that has been lost thus far on Terence Crawford. I think that's something else that comes to mind. Of course, he can pay Terence Crawford big money, but, is he going to be able to recoup? And I also think he feels like if he's not able to get him that fight, that's a bridge that could possibly burn it. And the same way Crawford just left Bob, he just wants to avoid the headache.
What you have to do as a promoter, they haven't been able to deliver him the marquee fights. Don't forget that the Crawford Porter fight was called by the WBO, not by Bob Arum. He didn't.
Yeah, so now he's showing that, part of Terrence's reasoning for leaving, that the WBO had to call Porter Bud. Again, Crawford didn't want that fight. Bob was saying that I wouldn't even put that on Bob. Crawford, like he said, he didn't want to fight Porter. He kept saying that even to the end after the fight, he told Porter, I didn't want to fight you. It just wasn't a fight that Crawford wanted. It was always some type of excuse, or it was Pacquiao twice, and then it was, I'll get to you. But he ended up going to somebody else, and Sean got pulled from the rankings. So Eddie is just addressing that right there, but he's putting it more on Bob. I put that more on Crawford.
That fight was called as a mandatory. And he wants to move on. He wants to make those fights. Someone just came over to me in US media. Are you going to sign Terence Crawford? It's like, what? Why would I sign Terence Crawford? What fights have I got for Terence Crawford? He wants to fight Errol Spence. Do you know what I mean?
UBC don't work with you.
No, so, it's not like...
Yeah, so that's Eddie right there saying, what is he going to sign Terence Crawford for? And this is why I say you have to respect Eddie Hearn, because he could just sign him coming off his big performance and try to get what he can get out of him. But I think Eddie's thinking more about boxing, and he already understands the headache that he has with Devin and Andrade getting them fights, and it could be the same situation. Tony Reviews say, I wouldn't sign Crawford. He wants too much and really doesn't have a way to regain your profit. After Spence, where does he go? His marketability is over. Win, lose, or draw. I agree with that. I totally agree. I think Crawford is a very good fighter. Late in his career, has a lot of brand building to do. And Al just is the master of working with Black American fighters. So why not go to somebody that's the master in that field? You need your brand taken to the next level. Go with Al Heyman. You already said you don't like an app. You didn't like the ESPN app. So why even give yourself the headache of going back on the app with the zone? Everything you want is with Al Heyman. Let go of them hard feelings you have for Al, feeling like Al frees you out. It was just business. It's not personal. I just think he might need to drop Canahan too. I think Al will take care of him. So I don't think he would have to worry. I just think he just would have to give Al a little bit of time and trust him and just know things will work out.
No, but even if they did or would, which they may, but at the end of the day, why go to us to make that fight? It's a bit like Canelo. With Caleb Plant, he had to go to PBC to make that fight. So if that's their mentality and their attitude, that we don't work with other guys, we don't, we're only in-house people, then he might as well just sign with the PBC. I don't have any welterweight fights to offer him, really. Got money, but he don't. Of course, he wants money, but he also wants legacy. And I think that we're not the place for him. And I don't even think we'll make him an offer because...
And this is integrity right here. I want to see a lot more of this from promoters. Think about the good of boxing. If you know you don't have what the fans will want to see, you don't have, if you just don't have enough on your side, and unless you're a startup. If you're just starting up, I get it. But if you're an established company at this point, why waste everybody's time? Let's not hold boxing back because we know Terence Crawford being on the PBC is the best thing for boxing. So this is why I give Eddie Hearn major salute for that.
He's very expensive. He's a brilliant fighter, but the value in Terence Crawford is if he's in those fights, probably the fights that, honestly, we probably can't deliver. So, and Bob can't either. So I think Bob and Terence are probably in a stage where they should just shake hands and say thank you, and Terence should say thank you, by the way, as well, because Top Rank have done a good job with him. Undisputed champion at 140, world champion at 147, paid him a lot of money, and everyone just, with honour, says thanks for everything. Let's move on.
Yeah, and he's pretty much saying that Terence Crawford at this point has maxed out at Top Rank. He's got him undisputed. At least he walked off with the big fight with Sean Porter. Now let's just move on. And if he wants to maximize the back end of his career, that's going to be done with Al Heyman, and that's very respectable, especially coming from a competitor of the PBC. He could, like he said, he could throw him the big money, but he's just thinking about the big picture. So salute to Eddie for that. Tony Review says Crawford has been at the top as far as skills. However, at 34, there isn't enough time left to build him into a huge star. Bob wasted a lot of money only to be left. Al was going to take a lot. Oh, you don't think Al can do it either, Tony Reviews? If Crawford fights to, let's say 38, 39, because we in the era where LeBron James is thriving at an old age, Tom Brady is thriving at an old age. Let's say Terence Crawford takes those same steps in preserving his body. Do you feel like if he fights to 38, 39, could Al get him semi-Floyd? Go, salute. Happy Thanksgiving, peace and blessings to Tony Reviews and Ghost and his family. Do y'all think that Al just has no chance of taking his brand to the next? Crawford gets 80-20 for those bad pay-per-view numbers. But do you feel like but I'm saying Ghost, do you feel like Al, who has done wonders for Floyd, Tank is doing good, and that's Al's system, even though it's TMT, and Earl Spence is doing pretty good. So you don't feel like Al, that is a master with Black American fighters, can take Bud's brand to the next level? And this is all coming from the Eddie Hearn interview.
It's just not a big enough fight.
If you're just coming in, this all from the Eddie Hearn interview saying he has no interest in signing Terence Crawford because he doesn't have the fights for him. Tony Review said Crawford has one fight left after Spence. His money making abilities is gone. Old fighters tend not to make as much as up and coming stars. They need to be established like Pac or May. Bud is too old. and go say, I don't think Crawford has any of what you need to be a star. He has no personality, a victim mentality, and his performances aren't nearly what they need to be for him to be a star. Being undisputed and a three-weight champion didn't do it. Ain't nothing in him which can do it. He has no way to make money. But bro, see, only reason I feel a little different and the reason I changed my tone about Terence Crawford, I seen a lot more personality in Terence Crawford with that Sean Porter interview. And maybe he just needs to do a lot more of that personal stuff when he announces fights and where his head at. Maybe he needs to go, you know how Aaron Rodgers goes with Pat McAfee. Maybe he needs to go on the Porterway podcast because that crew seemed to get the best out of Terence Crawford. It made me feel different about him as a fighter. So maybe that's the answer. You can't get dropped by a Mean Machine and become a star. 200K pay-per-view maximum. Now, what about this? We know he won't Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman already did a pay-per-view with Manny Pacquiao. We know he won't Jamal Crawford. Jamel. What's the twin name? Jamel Charlo. We know he won't Charlo. We know he won't Earl Spence. And him and Ugas has, you know, I think those are possibly brand building fights. And could we ever see Triple G and Charlo catching them on the end, or Canelo and Charlo? I think the big thing would be one of those fights at 60. I don't think him and Charlo is huge or bigger than him and Earl, but I think if he can catch a big name at 60, I think him and Boots could be big too one day, but I don't think they probably meet at 47. Bro, that's not the answer, but Ben knew that answer for years and has not capitalized. He has shown zero interest to actually work on his brand. Yeah, but I'm trying to be a little bit more optimistic about Crawford after the Sean Porter interview. I just respected how he showed Sean his respect, and I respected how he didn't just go in that interview disinterested. So that showed me some light at the end of the tunnel. But I do what I can to as my brand goes to try to help push and try to encourage other people to, just have a little bit more optimism and just let's see what Al can do. We know it's a long shot, but if anybody can do it, Al Heyman can do it. The problem with that Keith thing, Keith once upon a time had that fight 2 years ago. His name ain't hot anymore. He lost his clout by losing to Manny Pacquiao. I agree. And the other thing I think these guys do wrong, they come at Jake Paul instead of trying to work with Jake Paul. I think a big brand builder for Crawford, with him being on Showtime, is to be on the undercard of a Jake Paul show or do a collab, even if Paul lets him headline. I think that would do major for his brand and introduce him to a whole new fan base. But he's already said it's disrespectful for Paul to be selling and doing how he's doing. Now that's one of the answers. That's an option that they have over their forum. But Terence Crawford would have to be open to it. So I don't know. I agree with you with the Keith thing. Keith not hiding. I really don't have a care to see Keith right now. He's gonna have to do something major. But I do see a lot of fans on Twitter that are a bit more open, a lot more Bud fans. I don't see the Earl fans, but I do see a lot more Bud fans. So we'll see. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna try to be as positive as possible with the Crawford thing. I hope he does sign with PBC. I think for us, that's the best thing as the viewer. But we definitely just have to just let things play out, and I hope we get some type of answer before January on where is his mind at, what is he doing next, and what's next for Earl. Exactly. He should be working with guys like Jake to build his brand. You can't have you going hard, Ghost. You can't have that type of ego and victimhood if you're trying to build your brand. Uncle Al and DK the only answer to make him hit 200K next time around. That's because they gonna take out the whip and force him to do shit. Yeah, I think, but they say he didn't even do the 190. They said the 190 was a stretch. They said it was more around 150. So I think getting him to 220 the next pay-per-view, and that's why I think he wants Thurman. He wants to try to build his brand so he gets closer to that 60-40, 60-45. I think ultimately him and Spence will end up being I think it might get mandated and it'll be closer to what Canelo and Triple G had. Remember they was fighting over the split and it ended up being 60-45, something like that. So I think it'll end up being that, but it's just going to take a couple fights in between. Earl will probably end up getting Ugas, and maybe they fight early 2023. But it's gonna take a little second for Al Heyman to at least build up his brand more so he can get a better split. Because right now, if I'm Earl, I'll probably take 80-20, but let me hear what the rest of Bob say.
You know, you're talking about amount of money. You saw I don't know the exact pay-per-view numbers from Crawford Porter, but if they're talking about 170, 180, 190, those guys, it's not good enough. You can't pay those kind of purses if they're hitting those kind of numbers. And Josh Taylor against Crawford is not a big fight. Josh Taylor against Crawford, Umar, it's nowhere near as big a fight as Crawford Porter in America.
So where Bob just said that Josh Taylor was Crawford's biggest lucrative fight, Eddie, who has worked with him, is totally disagreeing.
Trust me, he's not in the fight.
His presence has gone up. I saw it in Vegas last week. His presence has gone up.
Trust me, I know. Josh Taylor's an amazing fighter, right? But his profile has never been pushed or exploited in the right way. And in America, he's just not. Porter's a much bigger name.
Bob said he'd take it to the UK. Crawford Taylor.
But where are they going to get the money? So you got to generate. They're going to talk about $12 million worth of purses. It doesn't work like that. Listen, if you want to do the fight and lose money, you're more than welcome to. But that's not the business that people should be in. And I think that's not the business Bob's in either, to be quite honest with you. Great fight, but it just won't happen. That fight won't happen. Because the money they will want for that fight, it doesn't exist. So unless someone's willing to take a bath, and every now and again, people are willing to take a bath, and what I mean by a bath is lose money on the show, then they can make that fight happen. But the numbers don't work.
Yeah, so Eddie pretty much just saying Porter is a much bigger star than Josh Taylor at this point. Josh's brand hasn't been maximized either. He don't think you could take the fight to the UK. He definitely don't think it's bigger than Porter Bud in America. So what's the point of making a fight just to lose money in? I agree with Eddie as well. So let's go to the comments. Tony Review says Bud equals number 2 pound for pound. However, that doesn't equal dollars. No one, no, no one cares about Keith. No hairline Thurman. I used to like Keith, man. I hate that his career went in the way it did, but I used to have a lot of love for Keith Thurman. Thought he was good for the sport, but hopefully his post career is great. Go say Floyd gonna come out of retirement to help Uncle Al, and Floyd does seem very interested in Bud. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe Floyd, if he works with Mayweather, you can combine him and Tank, and maybe he can get some of Tank's glow as well. Expect Floyd versus Jake Paul and him on the undercard. I can see that. That could be big. I agree with Eddie. Eddie got the UK market 100%. He knows what's going on. Josh Taylor not a star in the UK, let alone the USA. Then go say, remember Josh Taylor had 0 UK coverage when he became undisputed. There was no money in Josh Taylor's undisputed fight, let alone moving up without any titles. Yeah. Tank was built on Floyd undercard. Floyd will do anything to help Uncle Al succeed. And I agree. I think Crawford has to just be open, put his ego down, stop making excuses. Like, your pay-per-view did not sell because of the app. UFC sells on the app. Other fighters have sold on the app. Your brand just isn't there. So he, in his mind, this is what frustrates me about Bud. He seems to go to every excuse instead of just being like, man, my brand wasn't built right. It's not as big as Earl's right now, but I'm going to work in the future to put the right team behind me. I've already taken some of those steps, and in the future, you're going to see better numbers now that I'm away from Bob Arum. So once he takes accountability and just accepts it that his brand isn't as big as Bud's, hold on. Tony Review said Ghost Floyd would Floyd would never fight Jake. I'm sorry, but Floyd would lose to Jake at this point. I think Jake would be a tough fight. And it's sad to see, but I'm off. Y'all have a good turkey day. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you for coming to tune in, Tony. And we'll go say goes Crawford needs to let go of that ego and that victimhood. Wilder Fury sold 850K on the low on the set. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has to just accept that his brand isn't that big, because if he keeps the mindset that he has, the brand won't grow because he thinks the brand is already there. He's just not on regular TV. But you're not gonna get that many more. Like most of us is into it. Even people in their mid-30s, even early, they know how to use the app. Like everybody got smart TVs. It's nothing just to put ESPN with your remote and get the app. Tony Reviews, you seen the exhibition? What Floyd said about his last exhibition. I think, I don't know. The Jake Paul fight is not impossible, but it's more dangerous than Logan, I think, at this point. All right, current comments. I agree 100%. But yeah, just overall, that's Eddie Hearns' take. He has, I'm surprised that this is a shocker for me, a Thanksgiving shocker, that Eddie Hearn has zero interest in signing Terence Crawford, and that's a positive for the boxing fans. Floyd said he did not train for the exhibition, and he said if he would have seriously trained, 1 round blowout. I don't know about that. I believe he probably didn't train to his normal way, but I don't know about 1 round blowout with that big of a size difference. But appreciate you, Ghost, for coming through, man. I'm getting ready to go enjoy the holiday. Um, enjoy her and spoke the truth. Eddie lost 7 billion or the zone already. He ain't there to lose no. Yeah. And that's why I respect Eddie, man. I still feel like he's the best in the game overall. I think for Black American fighters, Al is the best. And I feel like for Hispanic and non-black fighters, Bob can do well, but I think just overall blended, Eddie just is the best. But shout out to everybody that tuned in. Trap Media USA, Thanksgiving edition. Eddie Hearn drops a bomb. Go signing out. Enjoy your day. I'll be here on the next one. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Likewise, Ghost. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay blessed and try to eat something healthy today, man. And work out by the end of the night. Get some cardio in. Don't just stuff yourself, everybody. Get some good cardio, at least 5 to 10 minutes. And end your night the right way. I'm out. And appreciate y'all.